Commander Lee Jun stared at the vast emptiness of space through the bridge window of the UES Defiance. 3 months into humanity's first deep space exploration mission, and they had found nothing but empty star systems and dead planets. The crew was getting restless, and Jun could feel their disappointment growing stronger each day. "Sir, we're approaching the Kepler 442 system," announced Lieutenant Park Hana from her station. Her fingers danced across the communication controls as she monitored incoming data. Initial scans show 3 planets in the habitable zone. Jun nodded and walked to the center of the bridge. At 35, he was the youngest commander ever chosen to lead such an important mission. His dark hair was starting to show gray streaks from the stress of command, but his eyes remained sharp and determined. "Run a full scan, Lieutenant. Let's see what we're dealing with." Jun turned to his security chief, Sergeant Kim Tae, who stood near the weapons console. "Any signs of artificial structures or energy signatures?" Kim Tae shook his head. The muscular man had been Jun's friend since their academy days, and his cautious nature had saved their lives more times than either could count. "Nothing yet, sir. The system looks clean." Dr. Choi Yuna looked up from her science station, excitement clear in her voice. "Commander, the second planet shows signs of having had water in the past. If we could land there and take samples, we might finally find evidence of life beyond Earth." Jun was about to respond when every alarm on the ship began screaming at once. The bridge lights flashed red, and the crew scrambled to their emergency positions. "Contact!" Park Hana shouted over the noise. "Multiple ships jumping out of hyperspace. They're huge, sir." Through the main view screen, Jun watched as reality seemed to tear open like fabric. One by one, massive ships emerged from the bright tiers in space. The smallest was twice the size of the Defiance, and the largest looked like a floating crystal palace that sparkled with its own inner light. "How many?" Jun asked, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. 37 vessels and counting," Kim Tae reported, his hands hovering over the weapon controls. "Sir, their technology is far beyond ours. Our weapons wouldn't even scratch their shields." But something strange was happening. Instead of attacking, the alien ships were moving into formation around the Defiance. They created a protective circle, with the human ship at the center. "They're not attacking," Dr. Choi said, wonder in her voice. "They're protecting us?" "Park?" Hana's hands flew across her console. "Sir, I'm receiving a transmission from the lead vessel. It's in Korean." Jun felt a chill run down his spine. "That's impossible. Put it through the main speakers." A voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect Korean with an accent that sounded both ancient and musical. "Greetings, children of the lost flame. We have been searching for you across 1,000 worlds, through countless star systems and forgotten galaxies. We are the Velanthi, and we have waited so long for this moment." The crew exchanged shocked glances. Dr. Choi leaned forward in her chair. "How do they know our language? How do they even know we exist?" "Sir," Kim Tae said, his voice tight with worry, "this could be a trap. Maybe they learned our language from captured humans." But Jun shook his head. Something about the voice felt familiar, like a half-remembered dream from childhood. "Continue the transmission, Lieutenant," the voice spoke again. "Commander Lee Jun of the vessel Defiance, we request permission to come aboard your ship. Our Queen wishes to meet with you personally. She has traveled very far to find you." Park Hana turned to Jun, her eyes wide. "Sir, they know your name. They know the name of our ship. How is that possible?" Jun stood silent for a long moment, thinking. Everything about this situation defied logic. How could aliens know their language, their names, their mission? But despite Kim Tae's warnings, Jun felt no sense of danger from these beings. "Dr. Choi, what's your analysis?" he asked. The scientist pulled up data on her screen. "Their ships are made of some kind of living crystal. The energy readings are unlike anything in our databases. But, sir, I'm not detecting any weapons signatures. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it the moment they arrived." Kim Tae stepped closer to Jun. "Commander, I still think this is too dangerous. We know nothing about these aliens." "That's exactly why we need to meet them," Jun replied. He turned to Park Hana. "Open a channel. Tell them they have permission to come aboard, but only a small group. and they'll be escorted by security at all times. Understood, sir, Park Hana said, then spoke into her headset in Korean. This is Lieutenant Park Hana of the UES Defiance. You have permission to send a small diplomatic party aboard our vessel. Please dock at Bay 7. The response came immediately. We are honored by your trust. Our queen and 2 guards will join you shortly. We thank you for this meeting, children of the flame. As the communication ended, the bridge fell silent except for the hum of ship systems. Through the view screen, they watched as a small, elegant transport pod detached from the Crystal Palace ship and glided toward the Defiance. Dr. Choi stood up from her station. I should be there when they arrive. This is the most important first. Contact in human history. We'll all be there, June said. But stay alert. Kim Tae, bring 4 of your best security officers, full armor, but weapons on peaceful settings. As they prepared to leave the bridge, Park Hana called out. Sir, the transport pod is approaching Bay 7. They'll be docking in 5 minutes. June took one last look at the alien fleet surrounding their ship. The crystal ships pulsed with gentle light, creating beautiful patterns against the darkness of space. Whatever these beings wanted, whatever they knew about humanity, everything was about to change. Let's go meet our visitors, June said, leading his team toward the docking bay. His heart pounded with excitement and fear. In just a few minutes, he would face beings from another world who somehow knew things about humans. That seemed impossible. As they walked through the corridors of the Defiance, crew members stopped to watch their commander pass. Word of the alien arrival had spread quickly through the ship, and everyone knew they were witnessing history in the making. The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss, and through the small viewing port, June could see a figure moving inside, the transport pod. The being was tall and graceful, with flowing robes that seemed to shimmer like starlight. Even through the distorted view of the port, there was something hauntingly beautiful about the alien form. Whatever happens next, June whispered to himself, humanity will never be the same. The docking bay filled with a soft blue light as the transport pod settled onto the metal floor. June stood with his team behind a protective barrier, watching as the pod's door slowly opened with a sound like wind chimes. The first beings to emerge were clearly guards. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, with armor that looked like it was grown rather than forged. The material seemed alive, shifting between silver and deep blue colors. Their faces were hidden behind masks that resembled stylized suns. But it was the third figure that made everyone hold their breath. She moved with the grace of flowing water, her long robes trailing behind her like liquid moonlight. As she stepped into the bright lights of the docking bay, June could see her clearly for the first time. She was tall, perhaps 6 feet, with features that were almost human, but somehow more perfect. Her skin had a faint glow, as if lit from within, and her hair fell in silver waves past her shoulders. Most striking were her eyes. They were large and expressive, shifting between silver and deep blue like mercury in the light. When she looked at June, he felt as though she could see straight through to his soul. I am Queen Nara of the Valanthi Empire, she said, her voice carrying easily across the docking bay. She spoke Korean, but with an accent that made even simple words sound like music. I have traveled across many star systems to find you, Commander. Lee June. Kim Tae stepped forward, his hand resting on his weapon. How do you know our commander's name? How do you know our language? Queen Nara smiled, and the expression transformed her already beautiful face into something that seemed to glow with inner warmth. Your people and mine have met before, brave warrior. Long ago, before your world forgot the stars. Dr. Choi moved closer to the barrier, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. What do you mean, before our world forgot the stars? Humans have only achieved interstellar flight in the last 50 years. That is what your people believe, Queen Nara said gently. But the truth is far different. May I approach your commander? I wish to show him something that will help explain. June looked at Kim Tae, who shook his head firmly. But something in the Queen's voice called to him, a familiarity he couldn't explain. Lower the barrier, he ordered. Sir? I don't think, Kim Tae began. Lower the barrier, Sergeant. That's an order. The energy field flickered and disappeared. Queen Nara walked forward slowly, her guards remaining by the transport pod. As she approached, June noticed that she moved without sound, her feet barely seeming to touch the floor. When she was only a few feet away, she stopped and looked directly into June's eyes. "You have dreams," she said softly. "Dreams of flying, between the stars, of great ships made of light, of standing on worlds with 3 suns. You wake up feeling like you've lost something important, but you can never remember what." June's heart raced. How could she know about his dreams? He'd never told anyone about them, not even his closest friends. "How do you—" Before he could finish the question, Queen Nara stepped forward and gently embraced him. Her arms felt warm and real, and she smelled like starlight and distant flowers. She pressed her face close to his ear and whispered the words that would change everything. "I've finally found you, human." The moment she spoke, something exploded in June's mind. Images flashed before his eyes like lightning. Massive cities floating among the stars, humans and aliens working together, great battles against creatures of pure darkness, and through it all, a sense of loss and longing that made his heart ache. He staggered backward, his hands pressed to his head. "What's happening to me?" Queen Nara caught his arm, steadying him. "The memories are awakening. You are not just human, June. You are one of the keepers of the flame, descendants of the greatest warriors the galaxy has ever known." Dr. Choi rushed forward. "Commander, are you all right? What did she do to you?" "She didn't hurt me," June said, though his voice shook. I saw things, memories that aren't mine." He looked up at Queen Nara. "What are the keepers of the flame?" Queen Nara gestured to her guards, who activated a device that projected a hologram into the air above them. The image showed a vast star map with thousands of points of light connected by glowing lines. 10,000 years ago, the galaxy was united, she began. The Valanthi Empire worked alongside your people, the keepers of the flame, to protect all life from the darkness that comes from beyond the stars. Humans were our greatest allies, brave and clever and adaptable in ways that even we could not match. Park Hana stepped closer, studying the hologram. "But if humans were part of this galactic civilization, what happened to us? Why don't we remember?" The hologram changed, showing scenes of great battles. Ships of light fought against things that seemed to devour starlight itself. "The enemy came," Queen Nara said, her voice heavy with old sadness. "Beings of pure hunger that consumed entire star systems. We fought them for 100 years, but they were too strong." "What happened to the humans?" June asked, though part of him already knew the answer. "Your people made the greatest sacrifice of all. To save the galaxy, they scattered themselves across 1,000,000 worlds, hiding in the far reaches of space. They gave up their memories, their technology, even their knowledge of the stars, so that some part of humanity would survive until the time came to fight again." Kim Tae crossed his arms. "You're saying we're refugees? That Earth isn't really our home?" "Earth was one of many refugee worlds," Queen Nara confirmed. "Your people chose to forget, to live simple lives, to grow and change in isolation. But the blood of the keepers still flows in your veins. The courage, the intelligence, the will to protect others, these things cannot be erased." Dr. Choi was taking readings with a handheld scanner. "Commander, I'm detecting changes in your brain, patterns. It's like parts of your mind that were sleeping are starting to wake up." June looked at his hands. They looked the same as always, but he felt different, like he was remembering how to use muscles he'd forgotten he had. "Why now? Why are you telling us this now?" Queen Nara's expression grew grave. "Because the enemy has returned. Our sensors detected them entering the galaxy 6 months ago. They are still far away, but they grow stronger every day. The Valanthi alone cannot stop them this time." "But humans can," Park Hana asked. "Not alone, but together. Our peoples were once strong enough to hold back the darkness. Your species has grown and changed during its long hiding. You've developed abilities that even the ancient keepers didn't possess. Earth has made you unique in the galaxy." June felt the weight of destiny settling on his shoulders. Everything he thought he knew about humanity, about their place in the universe, had been wrong. They weren't young explorers just beginning to reach for the stars. They were the scattered children of an ancient civilization, refugees who had given up everything to survive. "What do you need from us?" he asked. Queen Nara smiled, and for a moment, the sadness in her eyes was replaced by hope. "Come with me to our capital world. Let me show you what the galaxy has become in your absence. Help me wake up your people's sleeping memories. And when you're ready, help me find the other scattered tribes of humanity." Other tribes? Your people didn't just settle on Earth. There are dozens of worlds where humans live, each having grown different and unique. We'll need all of them if we're going to face what's coming. Jun looked at his crew. Kim Tae still looked suspicious, but Dr. Choi's eyes were bright with excitement. Park Hana was already working on her tablet, probably trying to analyze the alien language patterns. "How long do we have?" Jun asked. Queen Nara's expression darkened. "The enemy moves slowly, consuming everything in their path, but our scouts report they've already devoured 3 star systems. At their current speed, they'll reach the core worlds in less than 2 years. Then we'd better get started," Jun said. He turned to his crew. "Signal the Defiance. Tell them to prepare for a journey to alien space. We're going to see the galaxy our ancestors once helped protect." As Queen Nara led them back toward her transport pod, Jun felt the strange new memories stirring in his mind. Whatever lay ahead, whatever the truth about humanity's past, he knew there was no going back. The children of Earth were about to reclaim their place among the stars. The journey to the Valanthi capital took 3 days through hyperspace. Jun stood on the observation deck of Queen Nara's flagship, watching stars streak past like rivers of light. The Defiance traveled alongside them, dwarfed by the crystal. "Ships of the alien fleet. It's beautiful," Dr. Choi said, joining him at the viewing wall. Over the past days, she had become fascinated by Valanthi technology, spending hours with their scientists learning about their advanced systems. "And terrifying," Jun replied. The awakening memories in his mind showed him glimpses of what this journey meant. They weren't just visiting an alien world. They were returning to a home humanity had forgotten. Queen Nara approached from behind them, her footsteps silent on the crystal floor. "We will arrive at Luxaria within the hour. Are you prepared to see what your people helped build?" Jun nodded, though his stomach churned with nervousness. The strange dreams had grown stronger since leaving Earth. Sometimes he would see flashes of battles fought among the stars, of humans and Valanthi standing together against an enemy that devoured light itself. "Sir," Park Hana called from across the observation deck, where she had been working with Valanthi communication specialists. "I've been analyzing their historical records. The linguistic connections between ancient Valanthi and human languages are incredible. It's like we shared a common development for thousands of years." Kim Tae remained skeptical. He stood near the wall, arms crossed, watching everything with suspicious eyes. "All very interesting, but where's the proof? These could all be elaborate, lies designed to manipulate us." Queen Nara turned to him with patience that seemed infinite. "What would convince you, Warrior Kim Tae?" "Show me the enemy," he said bluntly. "If there's really this great threat coming to destroy the galaxy, show me evidence." The Queen's expression grew sad. "I pray you never have to see them with your own eyes. But if you wish proof..." She gestured to one of her attendants who activated a holographic display. The image showed a star system, bright and full of life. Planets orbited a healthy yellow sun, and the glow of artificial lights showed that millions of beings lived there. Then something entered the system from the edge of the display. It looked like a wound in space itself, a tear in reality that consumed light and matter. As it moved toward the star system, everything it touched simply stopped existing. Planets, moons, even the star itself began to dim and fade. "The Cathara system," Queen Nara said quietly. "Home to 12 billion Zephyrian people. This happened 4 months ago." They watched in horrified silence as the entire system was consumed. When the darkness passed, nothing remained but empty space. No debris, no radiation, no sign that billions of lives had ever existed there. "What are they?" Dr. Choi whispered. "We call them the Devourers," Queen Nara replied. "They are entropy given form, beings of pure hunger that consume not just matter and energy, but the very possibility of existence. They come from the void between galaxies, and wherever they pass, it's as if that place never was." Kim Tae's face had gone pale. How do you fight something like that? That's exactly what your ancestors asked 10,000 years ago. The answer nearly destroyed both our species. Before anyone could ask what she meant, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Through the viewing wall, they could see space beginning to change. The streaking stars slowed and became points of light again as the fleet dropped out of hyperspace, and there before them was Luxaria, the crown jewel of the Valanthi Empire. The planet was a work of art. Instead of natural continents, crystal. Cities spiraled up from the surface like frozen hurricanes. Bridges of light connected floating islands that drifted through the atmosphere. Ships moved between the structures like schools of luminous fish, and the whole planet pulsed with gentle, living light. My God, Dr. Choi breathed. It's beautiful. This is what we built together, Queen Nara said. Human creativity combined with Valanthi technology. Your people didn't just help us fight the Devourers. They helped us dream of something worth protecting. As their ship descended toward the planet, June felt the awakening memories growing stronger. He could almost remember standing on those crystal platforms, working alongside Valanthi architects to design impossible structures that existed as much in the realm of art as engineering. The awakening is accelerating, Queen Nara observed, watching his face. Being here, surrounded by the works of your ancestors, is calling to the sleeping parts of your mind. They landed in what Queen Nara called the heart of memory, a crystalline spire that reached up through the clouds. As they disembarked, June noticed that several of his crew members were showing signs of the same awakening he had experienced. Park Hana's eyes had developed flecks of silver, and Kim Tae moved with a new grace that reminded June of the alien guards. "Welcome to the Archive of Echoes," Queen Nara said, leading them into the spire. The walls were covered with moving images. Holographic records of galactic history spanning millions of years. Here, we have preserved the memory of everything that was, including the true history of humanity. Dr. Choi stopped in front of a display showing early human space explorers. But these weren't the primitive rockets of Earth's history. These were ships that sailed between stars like dolphins leaping through cosmic waves. "This is impossible," she said. "According to our records, humans only achieved spaceflight 500 years ago." "Your records begin after the scattering," Queen Nara explained. "When your people chose to forget, they destroyed all evidence of their true history. It was the only way to hide from the Devourers." She led them deeper into the archive, to a chamber where the walls showed not images, but pure memory. "Touch the wall," she told June. "Let yourself remember." June placed his palm against the crystal surface, and suddenly he was somewhere else entirely. He stood on the bridge of a ship made of starlight, commanding a fleet of vessels that danced through space like living creatures. Beside him stood other humans, their eyes bright with the silver fire of awakened potential, and Valanthi warriors whose crystal armor sang with harmonic frequencies. But ahead of them was the enemy. Not just ships or creatures, but holes in existence itself, places where the universe simply stopped. And as he watched, he understood what the ancient humans had done to stop them. "They turned themselves into weapons," he gasped, pulling his hand away from the wall. Queen Nara nodded gravely. "The quantum neural patterns in human brains can disrupt the Devourer's entropy fields. But using that ability changes you, transforms you into something that's no longer entirely human. Your ancestors chose to scatter rather than become monsters to fight monsters." "But the Devourers are back," Kim Tae said. His hand rested on his weapon, but June could see that his friend's skepticism had finally cracked. The evidence was too overwhelming to deny? Yes, and they're stronger this time. They've had 10,000 years to grow and adapt. The Valanthi fleet alone cannot stop them. Park Hana looked up from where she had been studying the memory walls. "But we can, can't we? The scattered humans? That's why you've been searching for us." Each human world developed differently during the scattering. Earth produced explorers and innovators. Other worlds created warriors, scientists, philosophers. Together, you might have abilities your ancestors never dreamed of. Dr. Choi was scanning herself with a medical device. "The genetic markers are all here, dormant but present in every human genome. Whatever our ancestors did to themselves, they passed it down to us. June felt the weight of destiny settling around him like a cloak. His crew, his species, they weren't just explorers who had stumbled onto an galactic war. They were the descendants of warriors who had once held back the forces of entropy itself. "How many human worlds are there?" he asked. Queen Nara activated another display showing a star map dotted with points of light. 47 that we know of. Some have remained primitive, choosing to live simple lives. Others have built civilizations that rival even the Valanthi. But all carry the same potential in their blood. And if we can unite them, then perhaps the galaxy has a chance. Queen Nara's silver eyes met his. But time grows short. Our long-range sensors show the Devourers have consumed 6 more star systems since we found you. At their current pace, they'll reach the core worlds within 18 months. Kim Tae stepped forward. "What do you need us to do?" Queen Nara smiled, and for the first time since they'd met her, June saw hope replace the sadness in her expression. "Help me wake up your sleeping brothers and sisters. Travel to the scattered worlds. Show them what they truly are, and when they remember their heritage, unite them into a force that can face the darkness." June looked at his crew, his friends, who had followed him into the unknown and found themselves at the center of a cosmic war. Dr. Choi's eyes were bright with excitement at the scientific possibilities. Park Hana was already working on communication, protocols for contacting the scattered human worlds. Even Kim Tae had the look of a soldier who had finally found a war worth fighting. "Then we'd better get started," June said. "The children of Earth are going home to the stars." As if in response to his words, the archive around them began to sing, a harmonic frequency that resonated in their awakening minds, calling them to remember who they truly were. The war came sooner than anyone expected. June stood in the command center aboard the flagship Unity, watching the tactical display with growing dread. Red markers showed Devourer forces advancing through the Outer Rim territories, consuming entire star systems at an alarming pace. Each blinking light that disappeared represented billions of lives simply erased from existence. "Report," he ordered, his voice carrying across the bridge where humans from a dozen different worlds worked alongside Valanthi officers. Captain Shin Woo stepped forward from the tactical station. He was a tall, severe man from the Hangang colony, a world where humans had developed into warrior philosophers after centuries of defending against hostile alien raiders. His people had been the first to fully embrace their awakened heritage. "The Devourers have accelerated their advance," Shin reported. "They've consumed the outer territories completely and are now moving toward the core systems. At this rate, they'll reach Luxaria in 6 months, not the 18 we originally estimated." Dr. Choi looked up from her science station, where she had been working with engineer Bae Su from New Jeju. Bae's colony had focused on technological development, creating innovations that impressed even the ancient Valanthi. "The awakening process is spreading faster than we expected," she said. "Humans across all the colonies are manifesting abilities spontaneously. It's like the approaching danger is triggering some kind of species-wide response." June nodded grimly. Over the past 6 months, they had visited 17 of the scattered human worlds. Each had its own unique culture and capabilities, but all shared the same fundamental potential. The ice world of Baekdu had produced warrior monks like Young-ho, who could manipulate energy with their minds. The forest world of Sebyok had created healers who could repair both flesh and technology with their touch. But awakening the scattered humans had come at a cost. "What's the status of the evacuation?" June asked Park Hana, who now coordinated communications across the entire human Valanthi alliance. "We've successfully evacuated 12 colony worlds," she reported. "But the outer settlements are refusing to leave. They want to fight." Kim Tae approached from the security station, his appearance dramatically changed by his own awakening. His eyes now held flecks of silver fire, and he moved with the predatory grace of a hunting cat. The transformation had made him an even more effective warrior. But June sometimes missed his old friend's simple humanity. "The colonists are right to want to fight," Kim said. "Running won't save us this time. The Devourers aren't just conquering territory, they're erasing it. Soon there will be nowhere left to run." Before June could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Queen Nara's voice echoed from the communication system, calm but urgent. "All commanders to the strategic center. We've received word. From our forward scouts, the enemy has reached the Andromeda Gate. The Andromeda Gate was more than just a strategic position. It was a massive space station that controlled access to the galaxy's core systems. If the Devourers controlled it, they could strike at any target within the inner territories. June and his senior staff hurried to the strategic center, where Queen Nara waited beside a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. The display showed the approaching Devourer fleet as a spreading darkness that seemed to consume the very light of the hologram. "How long do we have?" June asked. "Our forces at the gate will hold for perhaps 6 hours," Queen Nara replied. "But the station's defenses were designed to fight conventional enemies, not beings that can unmake reality itself." Engineer Bei Su studied the tactical display with his enhanced perception. "What if we don't try to fight them conventionally? The awakened humans have abilities that don't follow normal physical laws. Maybe we can use that." Jung Ho, the warrior monk from Baekdu, stepped forward. His people had spent generations meditating on the nature of reality itself, and his awakening had given him insights that even the Valanthi found disturbing. "The Devourers exist in a state of anti-creation," he said quietly. "They are the opposite of the creative force that drives all life. But if we could find a way to amplify human creativity, channel it as a weapon." "It's too dangerous," Queen Nara said immediately. "That's exactly what your ancestors tried. The quantum neural feedback from such an attempt could destroy your minds, turn you into something inhuman." "Maybe that's what it takes," Kim Tae said bluntly. "Maybe we need to become monsters to fight monsters." June felt the weight of command pressing down on him. Every choice he made would determine not just the fate of humanity, but of all life in the galaxy. "What exactly are you proposing?" Jung Ho activated his personal data pad, showing complex equations that seemed to shift and writhe on the screen. "A coordinated quantum neural resonance across all awakened humans. We link our minds together and focus our creative potential into a single burst of pure existence, the opposite of what the Devourers represent." Dr. Choi shook her head. "The neural stress alone could kill everyone involved, and even if it works, we don't know what kind of changes it might cause in human consciousness. The alternative is watching the galaxy die," Shin Wu pointed out. "At least this way, we go down fighting." Queen Nara moved to June's side, her silver eyes reflecting the swirling lights of the tactical display. "There may be another way. The ancient archives mention something called the Lost Archive, a repository of knowledge from before even the Valanthi achieved spaceflight. If it still exists, it might contain weapons or techniques we haven't considered." "Where is it?" Parkhana asked. "That's the problem. According to legend, it exists in quantum space, the realm between dimensions where the laws of physics become more like suggestions. Only beings with powerful quantum neural patterns can even find it, much less enter it." June understood immediately. "You mean only awakened humans?" "The most advanced awakened humans? Yes. And even then, the journey would be incredibly dangerous. Many who have attempted to find the lost archive have never returned." Before anyone could respond, the lights in the strategic center flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in red light. Through the ship's communication system came the voice of the Unity's tactical officer. "All hands to battle stations! Devourer forces have broken through the Andromeda Gate! Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace throughout the system!" June ran to the nearest viewing port and looked out into space. What he saw made his blood turn to ice. The Devourers weren't ships in any conventional sense. They were holes in reality itself, dark tears in the fabric of space-time that consumed everything they touched. Around them, the brave defenders of the Andromeda Gate were fighting desperately, but their weapons seemed to have no effect. "How many ships do we have?" he asked. 200 human vessels from all the colonies," Shin reported. 800 Valanthi ships of the line, but our conventional weapons are useless against them." June watched as a Valanthi dreadnought, one of the most powerful ships in the galaxy, fired its main cannon directly into one of the dark tiers. The energy beams simply vanished, as if it had never existed. A moment later, the tear expanded and consumed the dreadnought entirely. The space around the Andromeda Gate had become a graveyard of light. June watched from the bridge of the Unity as another Valanthi warship simply vanished into the spreading darkness. The Devourers moved through space like hungry shadows, consuming everything in their path. Sir, we're receiving distress calls from across the sector, Park Hana reported, her voice tight with stress. The enemy isn't just targeting military installations. They're going after civilian populations, evacuation ships, even medical stations. Jun's hands clenched into fists. The awakened memories in his mind showed him glimpses of this same horror from 10,000 years ago. His ancestors had faced this exact nightmare and had been forced to make an impossible choice. Queen Nara, he called across the bridge. How long until we can reach the Lost Archive? The Valanthi Queen looked up from where she had been coordinating with her fleet commanders. The strain of the battle was visible on her perfect features. The quantum calculations are complex. Even with our fastest ships, the journey would take hours we don't have. Engineer Bei Su suddenly straightened at his station. What if we don't take ships? What if we create a quantum bridge directly from here? Dr. Choi turned to stare at him. That's impossible. The energy requirements alone would drain every ship in the fleet. Not every ship, Bei said, his enhanced mind working through calculations at superhuman speed. Just the human ones. Our quantum neural patterns are naturally attuned to that dimensional space. We could use ourselves as living conduits. Young-ho nodded slowly. A mind bridge across quantum space. It could work, but the mental strain would be enormous. And someone would have to physically travel through the bridge to reach the archive. Kim Tae stepped forward without hesitation. I'll go. No, Jun said immediately. This is my responsibility. I'll make the journey. Queen Nara moved to his side, her silver eyes reflecting the chaos of the battle outside. If you're determined to do this, you won't go alone. The archive was built by the first ones, beings even older than the Valanthi. Their technology responds to paired consciousness, minds linked in perfect harmony. Jun understood what she was offering. You want to link with me. Share the journey. It's the only way. But Jun, you must understand. Creating a quantum bridge of this magnitude will require every awakened human in the fleet to join their minds together. The feedback could kill them all. Across the bridge, the human crew members looked at each other. Captain Shin Woo spoke for all of them. Commander, we didn't come this far just to watch the galaxy burn. If there's a chance the archive contains something that can stop the Devourers, then we take that chance. Dr. Choi was already running calculations on her medical scanner. The quantum neural resonance needed for this will push human consciousness beyond its normal limits. Some of us might not survive the transformation. Better than definitely not surviving when the Devourers reach us, Kim Tae said grimly. Jun looked around at his crew, his friends, the people who had followed him from Earth to the far reaches of the galaxy. They were no longer quite human, their awakened abilities having changed them in ways both wonderful and frightening. But they were still the same brave souls who had volunteered for humanity's first deep space mission. All right, he said. Bei, start preparing the quantum bridge. Park Hana, coordinate with all human ships in the fleet. Dr. Choi, monitor the neural stress levels of everyone involved. We do this together, or not at all. The next hour was a blur of frantic preparation. Human ships throughout the fleet aligned themselves in a complex geometric pattern, their crews joining their awakened minds in a network that spanned thousands of kilometers. The mental connection was unlike anything Jun had ever experienced. He could feel the thoughts and emotions of every human in the fleet, their fears and hopes blending together into a symphony of consciousness. Beginning quantum bridge initialization, Bei announced. Around the fleet, space itself began to shimmer and bend. Reality twisted like heated glass, as the collective human will forced open a pathway between dimensions. Queen Nara took Jun's hand, her touch electric with alien energy. Are you ready? He nodded, though his heart pounded with terror and excitement. Through the mental link, he could feel his crew supporting him, lending him their strength for the journey ahead. The quantum bridge opened like a flower made of starlight. Through it, Jun could see not space, but something else entirely. A realm where thoughts had substance and dreams could become real. At the far end of the bridge, barely visible through the swirling energies, was a structure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. The Lost Archive, Queen Nara breathed. It's real. Together they stepped into the bridge. The sensation was indescribable. like falling upward through liquid light while every atom in their bodies sang with harmonic frequencies. Time seemed to stretch and compress around them as they traveled through the space between spaces. The archive itself was beautiful beyond words. It looked like a crystal library that had been grown rather than built, its walls lined with knowledge that existed as pure information rather than physical books. At its center stood a pillar of light that pulsed with the rhythm of a cosmic heartbeat. "Welcome, children of the scattered flame," a voice said, though there was no visible speaker. "We have been waiting for your return." June approached the central pillar, Queen Nara beside him. "We need help. The Devourers have returned, and we don't know how to stop them." "The answer lies within you," the voice replied. "Your species was created for this purpose, to be the antibody that heals the universe when it becomes infected with entropy. But the cure requires a sacrifice." Images flowed from the pillar into their minds. June saw the truth about humanity's origin. They hadn't evolved naturally on Earth, but had been created by an ancient race as living weapons against the forces of anti-creation. The human capacity for love, creativity, and hope was literally toxic to beings like the Devourers. "What kind of sacrifice?" Queen Nara asked. "To defeat entropy, you must become pure creation. Humanity must transcend its physical form and become beings of pure creative energy. You will save the galaxy, but you will no longer be human as you understand the term." June felt the weight of the choice settling on his shoulders. Save the galaxy by sacrificing humanity's humanity itself, or watch everything burn while remaining unchanged. Through the quantum bridge, he could feel his crew's thoughts. They had seen the same images, understood the same choice. And to his amazement, their response was unanimous. "Do it," came Kim Tae's voice across the mental link. "We knew this mission might be one way when we left Earth." "The galaxy is bigger than just humanity," added Dr. Choi. "If we can save trillions of other lives by changing ourselves, then that's what we do." Queen Nara squeezed his hand. "I will change with you. The Valanthi and humanity were always meant to be partners in this." June reached out and touched the pillar of light. Power flowed through him like liquid starfire, changing every cell in his body, transforming his consciousness into something vast and bright. Around him, Queen Nara underwent the same transformation, her already ethereal beauty becoming something that existed as much in the realm of dreams as physical reality. Across the galaxy, every awakened human felt the change. Their bodies became beings of living light. Their minds expanded to encompass quantum possibilities their ancestors could never have imagined. They were still recognizably themselves, but they had become something more, gardeners of reality itself. The Devourers, those hungry shadows that consumed existence, found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't comprehend. Where they brought entropy and ending, the transformed humans brought creation and infinite possibility. The darkness that had devoured entire star systems began to retreat, then transform, becoming something new and beautiful. Years later, June stood on the observation deck of a ship that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously. The galaxy was healing, with new star systems blooming where the Devourers had once consumed everything. Humanity's children, the various alien species they had saved, were exploring and growing in ways that would have been impossible before. Queen Nara approached him, her form shifting between the beautiful alien he had first met and the being of pure creativity she had become. "Do you regret the choice we made?" June smiled, feeling her presence in his expanded consciousness like a warm light. "How can I regret becoming more than I dreamed possible? We saved everything that ever was or could be." Around them, space itself sang with new possibilities as their transformed crews tended to the garden of stars they had helped create. Humanity had given up their original form, but in doing so, they had become something their ancestors could never have imagined, shepherds of creation itself, ensuring that the universe would always choose growth over entropy, hope over despair. They had finally come home to the stars, not as the children of Earth, but as the gardeners of infinity.